Welcome back to the channel. We're here in the Cluboratory at Miles of Golf. I'm Luke. I'm joined again by one of our expert club fitters, Joe Deere. Joe, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Today we're looking at two of the newer irons from Ping this year. More of their player-centric irons of the Blueprint S and the Blueprint T. Now, Blueprint isn't a new iron for them by any means. We saw Blueprint back in 2019 and it stayed current up until this year. But it was just that one iron. It was just straight Blueprint.
Yeah.
It was a muscle back, that classic muscle back that's... It looks like a butter knife sitting down, a little bit of a smaller profile from toe to heel. Usually those kind of tour-like players, they like looking at that.
Yeah.
Something new to this line this year is the Blueprint S that you have in your hands right now. Kind of a continuation from their old S line of irons, S55, S56, etc.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about what these two irons are meant to do and why a player might play one or the other.
For sure, yeah. So I mean, like you said earlier, the T that's their tour, model, if you want to go call it that. But you won't see every tour guy playing that. The T is exactly what it sounds like. It is for those specific players. Tony Finau will most likely be just throwing that back in the bag because he just had the continuation of his old blueprints, right? The S is going to be for that guy that still loves that tour look, but it's like, hey, I may miss it slightly on the toe. I may miss it slightly in the heel. I need that extra little bit of forgiveness to help with my misses.
Yep.
Now, again, just because you have misses doesn't mean you're not a tour player, right? I mean, look at a guy like Victor Hovland, right? Guy played I-230. Mm-hmm. That's way more forgiving than either of these two irons.
Yep.
But
and he's one of the best ball strikers on tour.
100%. That just because he's not playing this doesn't mean he's not a great ball striker. He just needs the performance.
Yep.
But I believe he's been testing these recently, and he may have them in the bag.
Like the little bit I've been looking of what's in the guys' bags on tour, even those guys that were playing the old Blueprint, what Blueprint T is now, a lot of those guys have switched to that iron in your hands right now.
Yeah.
Because even those guys that are hitting it on a dime every single time know that every bit of help is going to shave that extra stroke off that round
100%.
for them. And then across 4 rounds, that could be the difference of a tournament.
Absolutely. The T is going to be for that guy that knows exactly what he's doing with that ball every time. Mm-hmm. You look at a guy like Adam Scott, not necessarily a ping guy. That guy's always played blades up until this recent year. Yep. He's actually switched from a straight blade to something that looks more like this. Mm-hmm. Because even again, he's been, his moniker of almost one of the best ball strikers of all time. I mean, his golf swing is about as perfect as it gets.
Yeah.
Even he's starting to see, okay, I may need some forgiveness.
Yep.
And if you see those guys starting, that means everyone else should be starting to see that as well.
Something you had mentioned about kind of those better guys on tour playing that blade and then moving into something more cavity-like of that Blueprint S just for the forgiveness. Something we're seeing a lot, especially from those guys that have always played blades from 3 or 4 iron on down, is throwing more forgiveness into those higher irons like the 3, the 4, and the 5 iron, just to maybe get that little bit more height and a little bit better consistency. Tell me about what Ping's doing to make that super easy for these guys.
Yeah. What I love that they're doing, especially from a fitter aspect, right, is that some guys want that blade, they want that T, but they don't want that T maybe in the 6 or the 6, the 5, the 4, right? So what they're doing is they're keeping lofts consistent from Blueprint T, Blueprint S, and I-230. So the guys that want that, I love the T, I love how it feels in the wedge, the 9, maybe the 8, but I'm not super confident with the 7, the 6, the 5. Hey, let's go T, lower half, S, upper half of the bag, and then even like, hey man, I want the 3 iron, but I want that I-230 because I want to make sure. I mean, you look at the GOAT, right? Tiger Woods. That man has a P770 or whatever in the bag is a 3 iron. Mm-hmm. 10 years ago, you would have never seen anything that looks remotely that big in his golf bag.
No. Technology has changed the game a lot.
Yeah, it's insane. I mean, these players are now realizing this technology still looks really good, yet very playable for me.
So let's hit a couple. Let's kind of maybe make some hypotheses from the start. A couple of things we want to look at. It's definitely height. Yeah. When we're looking at, because we know they're both the same loft, but a different center of gravity placement in both of them. I'm maybe curious on height. What else are you going to be looking at between these two?
For sure. So I play I-230 last year. I'm playing Blueprint S and T this year. Kind of we're talking about that blended set, but I'm starting at the 7 iron with the S and then 8 and 9 pitch in the T. So for the S, I just want to see it stay high. Okay. I mean, spin for me has always been a little bit on the lower side. So for me, I actually play a Pro V1X ball just because it helps me launch higher, spin more. So I'm really hoping to see that stay consistent with this without necessarily help from a golf ball. I mean, these are Pro V1, so it's still going to be a pretty good test to it. But the biggest test for me, especially when we test the T, is going to be the miss hits. I'm a toe striker through and through. My miss is going to be left. So the curvature from right to left is going to be my biggest concern, I guess, moving into the tee line.
Awesome. Let's hit a couple.
Cool.
You turned into a cut player on me.
Dude, I would kill for that, to be completely honest with you. I mean, this feels great.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason I'm putting these in the bag, right?
Yeah, those are perfect.
Yeah,
man.
these are awesome.
Those are 4 perfect golf shots. No deletes required. That's where that extra forgiveness is going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't delete any at all throughout these entire sessions. You just been on one today. That one you just pulled a hair bit, but it's nice to see that the distance barely went up, like if at all.
Yeah.
On that. That's money. We threw the tee down for you now. First impressions.
I mean, it's awesome, right? Like, does it fill me with the most confidence looking down on it? Honestly, it looks very similar to the S. I don't look down and be like, we'll see. I'm seeing a very similar head shape. It doesn't scare me. I'll say that much. So that's always a positive. Behind the ball, looks good. I was a little thin. But again, that's not curving.
It's money. It's absolute money.
Did I lose anything on that?
No, 165.
Yeah. I mean, again, that's
Dead perfect.
Yeah.
The spin was a little bit lower,
But when you catch it a little thin,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I'm going to hit one much better than that with this.
That's perfect.
Maybe a touch chunky, but this isn't curving.
No, not at all.
I mean, I might just go 4th or pitch. Let's do this. Like,
Yeah, you landed those all right on top of each other.
no, you give me a 4-iron or a 3-iron.
Yeah, that's where like the look of it's definitely getting more intimidating too. Is at the top. I was looking at the
100%.
3-iron of this. I definitely hit it. I was like, I want to see how this works. But looking down at it, you're like, yeah, this is intimidating. I don't want to do
Yeah, you want to see a butter knife. I mean, that'll be about it.
Yeah. So now we're looking at both of these. We're looking at all of our results. We hit 4 shots with each. We didn't have to delete any because they were all perfect. These are definitely your irons. You should definitely be playing your combo set.
Yeah.
With how you performed with the Blueprint Tee, I know you said you're breaking into that 7-iron. We could play
Yeah.
a full set of those.
Yeah,
Once you get to the
that's right.
high end, it might get a little bit tougher with the 4-iron. But, I mean, that circle with the Blueprint Tee, I'm going to just solo that one right now. You land those on a dinner plate. Those, I mean, your side total was 9 feet to the right, and it was only plus or minus 4 feet. So you had 8 feet in either direction. Every single one of those, you have maybe a 15-foot birdie putt on top of it. We love that. Everything about 18 degrees of launch, absolutely perfect. Spin, again, a little on the lower side. You are a lower spinning player.
Yeah.
Those were Pro V1 golf balls. If we had everything exactly how we wanted, they would have been Pro V1 X's.
For sure.
We could have seen how that spin would have changed a little bit there because that's very important. But everything about those numbers, 18 degrees of launch, 5,300 RPMs for you, falling at 46 degrees,
That's the big number, right? I mean, we talked about spin. We'd like to see a little bit higher. Those numbers are, but they're variable, right?
Yeah.
If you launch it higher and it's not spinning a ton, but it's still landing soft,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yep.
But if it's launching at 14, spinning at 5,000, and your land angle's at 34, 38, you just start clubbing down
Yeah,
because you're gonna have that thing rolling up. So. I mean, yeah, the biggest thing, obviously, when we get fit, we're looking at all these numbers, right? For me, they seem pretty consistent both ways. Like you said, I could play either one. I'm on one right now, dude. I'm striking the ball the best I've ever really struck the ball. So I'm not changing anything. I'm not signing up for our U.S. Open qualifier next week or anything like that. But I will say it did fill me with that confidence I was looking for, like knowing I could hit the S no problem with the 7-iron. So that tells me 8-9 pitching wedge. That's gonna be no issue for me.
And then let's look at the numbers real quick on the S2. Again, distance-wise, with the tee, just going back real quick, we were 165 yards in the air. Again, plus or minus 1 yard. You were hitting that 165 pretty much every single time. Going into the Blueprint S, 166 plus or minus 1.8. Just a little bit farther, I mean 1 yard. We're seeing that loft go to work where, hey, it's not a lot stronger than what the tee is, so distance theoretically should be pretty similar. Side total, a little bit more to the right, 11 feet on average to the right. Again, not horribly more.
No.
You were just on, again, you said it, you were striking that tee perfect.
Yeah.
We still like to see that consistency with the S, really, really good. Land angle at 47 degrees, so it fell a little bit steeper. Again, height-wise as well, 94 feet in the air compared to 90 feet with the tee. So we saw that lower center of gravity go to work a little bit, where you
100%.
got it up higher a little bit and falling a little bit steeper. Some final thoughts on those guys.
No, I mean, they're great. If you are that, low handicap, that low single digit, maybe even a plus or plus, I don't know, the 3, give or take, this is going to be one of those irons that, again, you should try, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, it gives you the versatility, 100%. Like we talked about blending earlier, it gives you what you want. If you want ultra blade and the lower, and you want this higher, the S a little bit higher, that's totally fine. It gives you that option to at least try it.
Yep. The one thing I'm taking out of this fitting or this testing session most is the forgiveness of that Blueprint tee. And you were striking them really, really well. That obviously has to be taken into consideration. But the fact of how consistent you were with that tee gives me a lot of confidence to hand that iron to a person who's like, oh man, I don't know if I can hit that very consistent. We saw as someone like yourself that doesn't hit golf balls that much, I can't complain with that dispersion pattern.
100%.
What Ping did with these irons, I mean, it doesn't surprise me. They've always been kind of at the top of the mountain when it comes to engineering with those irons.
Yeah, for sure.
You got to try these out.
Yeah.
You just got to try them out. Well, other than that, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. That helps us out a lot. If you have any other video ideas or stuff you want us to test out or do in here, please leave that in the comments below. But other than that, see you later.